Update for like 3 days ago. Um, March the 9th. Um, Totally not filming this on March the 11th, about 40 minutes after filming the one intended for March the 8th. Having just done my hair a little bit differently and put on a different shirt to make it look and move the camera just a little bit to make it look like an entirely different video. Of course, didn't do anything like that because of falling way behind. And so, therefore, we can have our update for March the 9th. Roll with it. Um, so, um, so on the 9th of March, actually ended up having my full day off for this week. Store would have come in. But anyway, ended up having a full day off. And this was, well, honestly, it's kind of a return back to normal for how weeks for me um, generally go. And I mean this in a couple of different ways. And one thing I'm actually just jotting down a note about this. I want to remember something else to mention here. So, during the school year, typically the way that things work for me during the school year and have for the last quite a few years is that I aim for 6-day weeks during the school year. This is combined between the store and working in the schools. And that just makes it a little bit easier for me to keep my finances and whatnot straight. I've done all the math. I know what it takes to get to the level where I want to be, and that is the way that I do it. For what it's worth, the economics of it do work out in ways, and this is another question that I get somewhat often. When it comes to doing things like what I do, I've worked for the retail company for a long time. This is a union retail company, and this is also a state, Washington State, that is known for doing, well, for being a pretty good place to work in education, comparatively speaking. And so when I say, "Oh, I work at the store and I work at a store and I do substitute teaching and somehow I manage to do this, that, and the other." Yes. But again, I totally get also that somebody might be sitting in, I don't know, the South somewhere and day one retail and I'm, being a substitute teacher and it doesn't necessarily work the way that I'm describing it working. I totally get that. And I definitely don't want to sound like that guy. Because of the position that I've built myself into. And I totally understand that not everybody could be able to do that, and definitely don't want to sound like, that. All right. So, anyway, so that's kind of how school years work for me. I aim for doing 6 days a week, and a day in the classroom and a day in the store end up being fairly similar when it comes to pay. A store day is a bit longer to get there, but it ends up being pretty close. So I can block for about that 6-day week. Let's see. That day also had a really good workout. Another one had several good workouts here since I've been back from my parents. Maybe it's getting adrenaline or whatever out. But some of my best workouts that I've had in a long time have actually been in this last week. So there we go. Another thing that I wanted to mention, if you have known me on like Facebook, specifically Facebook for longer than about 6 months, through much of 2025, I was going on about something that I was calling Project 2039. And that was going to be where I was going to go out of my way to take substituting jobs in a program called Transitional Kindergarten, which is essentially preschool at one particular school for when they come up throughout this year. And this was one of those, ivory tower type of ideas where then I would intentionally try to follow this group along. And I have not forgotten about that, but obviously I have not been following up with that this year. And the main reason being, I have mentioned on a few other occasions that the fall that mom had that ended up snowballing into the hip replacements that didn't work, or repairs to the replacement that did work, and all of this whole thing that ultimately culminated in, last week. That occurred on the 23rd of September. Teachers tend not to miss very much if they can avoid it in the first 2 or 3 weeks of school. And so near the end of September is when I tend to start teaching and actively looking for sub jobs. And unfortunately, this occurred, I believe it was the Tuesday of that week. And just kind of derailed most of my teaching plan for this entire school year. And so it never really got off the ground. Shifting it over, I don't even know if that district's going to be offering transitional kindergarten, to be perfectly honest, next year. If they are, might kick that off again in September. We'll see. And I'll keep you posted as that is going, because I'm going to have to make a lot of life changes here this year. But if I'm in a position where I can actually start attempting that, I would love to. Because, what a capstone project for a career as a substitute. And then as that cohort would then move into first kindergarten, follow them there. And if they're not doing transitional next year, who knows, I might actually just kick off with kindergartners and see if I can follow them through the process. So, anyway, I've not forgotten about that, and I still something I really, really hope to do. But unfortunately, I never got off the ground because of just the dates of how all this family stuff just happened to kick in, and probably going to just keep that on the back burner until next school year. Let's see. Another thing that I've encountered here since returning from the whole situation with Dad is how it's harder than I expected it to be to get motivated. Again, I mentioned there's a lot of stuff I have to get going with, life transitions and whatnot that I really need to deal with now that this is all done. And it is just hard to get going. And I've read that this is one of the things that can happen when you're in this kind of loss situation. I did not expect to be hit with that particular part. And so never been someone that needs like a shove to get going. But definitely needing to do that now. So, whew, yeah. Oh, yes. And one last thing before I leave today, is how long is it going to take me to fold those 5 loads of laundry? Well, day 12 and 13 are on the books now. Ciao for now, we'll see you in the next update soon.